Good day, everyone. My name is Sayas Antumagan from BSED 1B, and I will be reporting about Socrates. So before that, before we proceed, let's take in our mind, what does self mean to you? When we hear that word self, we think or we stuck in our mind that it's our self, myself, yourself, I myself, me myself, or simply say your true identity and your personality as you are, and how you reveal your true self to others is your own complement self and your inner self. So now I will discuss about first philosopher and his point of view about self. Let's have a short background about Socrates. So, Socrates is among the most famous figures in the world of history for his contribution to the development of ancient Greek philosophy, which provided the foundation for all the Western philosophy. He is in fact known as the father of Western philosophy. Take note, he is the father of Western philosophy for the reason. So now, there is 10 intriguing facts about Socrates. First, he was of middle economic status. He made money from teaching. No belief in religion. He died by hemlock poisoning. He did not leave any recorded teachings behind. Famous teacher. Socrates was a soldier. He might have been a Democrat. He was openly bisexual. Know thyself. So, the one of the 10 intriguing facts about Socrates will be considered to this topic is know thyself. Socrates is really care and concern to every man. He's considered man from the point of view of his inner life. The famous lines of Socrates is knowing thyself. We must stand and work according to his nature or environment. He means that it's not to be identified with what we own, with our social status, our reputation, or even with our body. Instead, Socrates famously maintained that our true self is our soul. The Socrates' famous line is Know thyself. His philosophical point of view of self is that he did not believe that to know ourselves is in our social status, our reputation, even in our body, or in our physical appearance. Instead, he believes that knowing thyself is from our soul. That's the own perspective, own philosophical point of view of Socrates.
Hello everyone, I'm Christine May Almirante BSED 1B and I will be reporting Plato and Saint Augustine. Plato was a student of Socrates and a teacher of Aristotle. He was also a Greek philosopher. He was considered one of the most important and influential individuals in human history. Plato has also often been cited as one of the founders of Western philosophy and one of the greatest minds in the human history. Plato's famous sayings, the ideal self, the perfect self. When his separation from the paradise of truth and knowledge, and his long exile on earth, he forgot most the knowledge he had. Plato would say ignorance is the root and stem of all evil. Evil as ignorance as understood in the sense that people can do evil deed with the right intention. Plato's philosophy about self is that the true self of human is the intellectual soul which separates from the body. So, Plato is the man who gave his soul in the evil. It's because Plato is describing to a people which had no knowledge. If he has the right mind to teach the people what good and bad, so the people may understand what he or she doing, not to down himself and his soul or life in evil. Saint Augustine. Saint Augustine, also called Saint Augustine of Hippo, his original Latin name Aurelius Augustinus, one of the most Latin fathers of the Church and perhaps the most significant Christian thinker after Saint Paul. Saint Augustine is the doctor of grace. He was a genius, although a genius to God is nothing. However, a holy genius means everything to God's mystical body. Grace enabled him to become a great spiritual lover and teacher. His conversion reveals God's bountiful grace with his famous sayings that, Thou hast made us for thyself, O Lord, and our hearts is restless until it finds rest in thee. Whereas he introduced the concept of free will, which means that humans are normally responsible for their actions. Saint Augustine's philosophy about self is self-respect. Never lose your respect for someone who doesn't care about your feelings and emotion. He believed that body is bound to die on earth and the soul is to anticipate living eternally in a realm in a spiritual blessed in communion with God. Saint Augustine said that men go abroad to wonder at the heights of the mountains, at the huge waves of the sea, at the long course of the river, at the vast compass of the ocean, at the circular motions of the stars, and they passed by themselves without wondering. So means that Saint Augustine here is full of love and praises to God. And if we should try to follow what he trying to say, we, the people, live with faith to God and love with each other, and every one of us is responsible for our actions. Like what he said to his philosophy itself, the self-respect. Don't let lose your self-respect to someone who really doesn't care about your feelings or emotions, although we should give them a chance for them to realize how is it important the word self-respect to us as an individual. And I often refer to myself as a seeker, but what I'm seeking can't simply be found somewhere out there.
René Descartes. René Descartes, born in March 31, 1596, in La Haye, Touraine, France, died February 11, 1650, Stockholm, Sweden, French, mathematicians, scientists, and philosophers. Dualistic distinction of the immaterial mind of the body, all that we really are, our identity, comes from the minds. His famous principle was cogito ergo sum, which means I think, therefore I am. To the mind and the body are independent from each other and serve their own function. Man must use their own mind and thinking abilities to investigate, analyze, experiment, and develop himself.
John Locke. John Locke Jr. was born on August 29, 1832, in United Kingdom. He was influenced by the following philosophers, namely Thomas Hobbes, René Descartes, Aristotle, Plato, Francis Bacon, Baruch Spinoza, and more that later on made him an English philosopher and a physician. Widely regarded as one of the most influential of Enlightenment thinkers and commonly known as a father of liberalism. He was a key advocate of the empirical approaches of the scientific revolution. John Locke holds that the personal identity or the self is matter of psychological continuity. For him, personal identity is founded on the consciousness or memory and not on the substance of either body or soul. So, sa ginambal ni John Locke, makilala natin ang ating personal identity through our consciousness. Makilala natin kung sino kita, din kita naghalin, ano kolor ka panita, kag kung ano pagid aware kita sa aton nga kaugalingan. Locke holds that personal identity is a matter of psychological continuity, arguing against both Augustinian view of man as originally sinful and the Cartesian position, which hold that man innately knows basic logical propositions. Locke possesses an empty mind, or tabula rasa, which is shaped by experience and sensations and reflections being the two sources of all our ideas. So, as you can see, makita natin nga ginposits naman ang empty mind, which means tabula rasa. Kag sa akin nga research, may another term pagid nga meaning, which is blank slate. So, nabata kita sa kalibutan nga blanko ang aton nga paminsaran, kag as the time passes by, samtang kita kanggad, nagagain kita kang aton nga nagagain kita through our experiences sa aton nakita, kag ma-reflect natin sa palibot, which is aware kita kung sino, kag kung ano ang aton nga kaugalingan, which is nga makilala natin ang aton nga kaugalingan. Law creates a third term between the soul and the body, and Locke's thought may certainly be meditated by those who, following a scientist ideology, would identify too quickly the brain with consciousness. For the brain, as the body and as any substance, may change, while consciousness remains the same. Therefore, personal identity is not in the brain, but in consciousness. For example, mataw lang ko example about sa discussion nga dyan. Si Marlo Arizala, or mostly known sa ngaran nga Sanderford. Ang pagkilala katanan na si Sanderford, na nakilala si Sanderford tungod nga gwapo, tungod nga sa surgery nga nagyan ang outcome na gwapo, pero ang main reason about sa personal identity, kung for example kung ako si Marla Arizala o si Sanderford, ma-deny ko blang ginhalinan ko nga bisan ang balan ko nga ako si Sanderford, pero ang isip ko nagambal nga ako si Marlo Arizala, kung anong ginhalinan ko, kung sino ako sa una, amuran.
Freud is not, strictly speaking, a philosopher, but his view on the nature of the selves have had a far-reaching impact on physiological thinking, as well as virtually every another discipline is the humanities and social sciences. Naturally, his most dominant influence has been in the fields of physiology and psychoanalysis. Freud's view of the self is multi-tiered, divided among the conscious, precocious, and unconscious.
Gilbert Ryle was born on August 19, 19,000 in Brighton, Sussex, England. He died on October 6, 1976 in Whitby, North Yorkshire. He is a British philosopher, leading figure in the Oxford philosophy or ordinary language movement. Gilbert Ryle gained first-class honors at Queen's College, Oxford, and became a lecturer at Christ Church College in 1924. So guys, si Gilbert Ryle naging first-class honor sa andang klase sa Queen's College sa Oxford kag naging lecturer sa Christ Church College in 1924. Gilbert Ryle's first book, The Concept of Mind, in year 1949, is considered a modern classic. In it, he challenges the traditional distinction between the body and mind as delineated by René Descartes. So, ang unang libro ni Gilbert Ryle, amo ang konsepto ng pag-iisip, in 1949, kag ginaturi nga isa ka modernong klasiko. So, sa sulod kag ginhamon ng tradisyonal nga pagkaiba sang lawas ka pag-iisip, amo ang i-describe ni René Descartes. Traditional Cartesian dualism, Ryle says, perpetrates a serious confusion when looking beyond the human body, which exists in space and is subject to mechanical laws. It views the mind as an additional mysterious thing, not subject to observation or to mechanical laws, rather than as the form or organizing principle of the body. So, here we go guys. Ang traditional na Cartesian dualism, amo na ang ginambal ni Ryle nga nagahimo ka kay isa ka seryoso ang makasarala o magturok sa piyak nga lawas ng tawo. Gaira sa kalawakan kag magapaydalom sa mga batas nga mekanikal. So, baligin na lang tayo na dyan guys ang pag-iisip bilang isa kang makaragdag ng mahiwagang bagay nga hindi may paydalom sa pagmamasid o sa mga batas nga mekanikal kasi sa form or prinsipyo sa pagkayad sang lawas. What Trials deems to be logically incoherent dogma of Cartesianism he labels as the doctrine of the ghost in the machine. So, kung ano ang ginaturing ni Ryle sa maging lohikal nga hindi magkaugnay sa dogma sa Cartesianism na kanyang tinatak bilang doktrina ng ghost in the machine.